Hey everyone, my name's Rachel and today I thought it would be fun to do another little kind of response video to a religious, in this case Christian I think, vlogger that I found here on YouTube. This channel, kind of like yesterday's, is just a really lovely girl. She seems really sweet, she's really nice, and the fact that she kind of uses her channel to, I guess, promote the kind of nice positivity in her life and try and do some good, I can really appreciate that and I really like that. The only problem I really have is with her Why I Believe series, where I think there are quite a few problems with her reasoning behind why she believes in God, and today I want to talk about a particular video called Why I Believe Even Though We Can't Prove He's Real. I think it offers up some really interesting arguments that I have many a counter argument to. So like I say, this girl is really nice, really sweet, but I just think I can offer a little bit of an alternative perspective to her. So let's get into that today.
So in this video, I'm going to share why I believe in God even though we can't prove he's real, and I'll share 3 different points with you. So first is creation, the second is prophecies, and then the third is my experiences as a Christian. So the first is creation. I said this in a different video, but I feel like the earth just screams with the fact that God exists and that there's a creator behind all of it. Like the example I always hear with this, and I really like this one a lot, is say you're on an abandoned island, okay? And there's no one around except for you, just you alone on this island, and you see a hut there, okay? You wouldn't ever think to yourself, oh, like that hut must have come together on its own because no one's here, like no one's around. And you wouldn't just think that. You wouldn't just think, oh, the hut came together randomly, right? Like you would think to yourself, oh, someone must have been here before me and made that hut. And if we can believe that for something so simple as a little hut, my question is, like, why do we struggle so much with believing that someone created this huge and vast and complex earth, you know? Not only just the earth, but the universe, you know?
So her first argument here is basically the old watchmaker analogy, where if it looks like it was designed, it probably has a designer, and that's really simplifying it. Personally, I really don't like this argument. When we look at the world, at the earth, at everything on it, at the universe as a whole, it's not fine-tuned. Not by a long way. The world is not perfect, and the world obviously hasn't been designed. There's far too much evidence of evolution and other changes occurring throughout history, often purely by chance. We literally see changes occurring every day purely by chance. There's a lot of evidence of human, animal, and plant design flaws. I mean, most of the universe isn't even habitable by us. That surely seems like a design flaw if humans are supposed to be basically the center of the universe, right? And I also have to ask questions like, if we were designed in the first place, why have we continued to change? And also, at what point were we supposedly designed and created and put on Earth? Because there's a lot of evidence of species now evolving from other species, and one of my favorite examples is just looking inside every cell in our body at the mitochondria. Okay, so everyone knows about the mitochondria, right? There's the whole powerhouse of the cell meme. Everyone's heard about them, everyone's learned about them in school, everyone knows they're basically there to generate ATP, right? They metabolize oxygen and pyruvate and they create ATP. But did you know that mitochondria have some pretty interesting characteristics that they also share with bacteria? For example, they actually have their own circular DNA inside them, which is separate from the DNA in the nucleus of the rest of the cell. They also have a double membrane and reproduce in the same way as bacteria. They can reproduce on their own without the rest of the animal or plant cell, which I think is kind of amazing, right? They basically replicate their own DNA and divide, just like a bacteria does. So what does this mean? Well, you might have heard of this theory as being called endosymbiosis. It's pretty interesting. Basically, the best theory at the moment, and this is simplifying it a lot, is that a long time ago, there were little bacteria cells, and they had the advantage over others in that they could generate ATP from oxygen, which is great. So they were just there, they were digging around one day, being little cells as they do, and they found some eukaryotic cells which couldn't metabolize oxygen, they couldn't create ATP, and they needed that because that was how they were gonna evolve, that was how they were gonna get better. That was one of the big traits they were missing. They couldn't metabolize ATP themselves. So the little bacteria and the little eukaryotic cell kind of combined, and the little bacteria went into the eukaryotic cell, and they started forming this little symbiotic relationship where the eukaryotic cell would look after the little bacteria and keep it safe and give it a nice little home to live in, and the little bacteria would metabolize oxygen for the eukaryotic cell. It would create ATP, it would create energy for it. So they were working together, they were benefiting each other. And it just happens that over the years, evolution happened, things changed, and this little bacteria kind of changed form a little bit, it evolved, and it became a part of the eukaryotic cell. It became a permanent part of the organism. It stopped being its own self-sufficient organism and became a little organelle, the mitochondria. And I think that's incredible. I mean, it's awesome. It really, really is. And this is why I love biology so much, because not only is it interesting how we work now, but seeing how we've evolved to get to where we are today, and then looking forward and thinking of all the amazing things that could happen in the future, it's incredible, right? But if we had a designer, why would he forget something so important in the first place? Surely something like being able to create their own energy is essential. Why would he have not put that in from the beginning? I mean, if there is a designer, then how much of the world that we know today can we really credit him with? At what point did he start or stop designing? I don't really understand this argument. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's hard for me because I see people wrestling with believing in God or not believing in him, and it's like, you know, like, why is it so hard for us to believe when this earth is so vast, but yet like a small, simple little hut, we would have faith in an instant, even though we never saw that someone created it. For me, like, it's so much easier for me to have faith that there was a creator behind the world versus having faith that this all came from nothing. And that's just personally me. I'm not trying to throw shade at you if you don't believe in God. I'm just saying, like, I find it much easier to believe that God created everything versus that this all came from nothing.
So this is the same argument that I kind of addressed a little bit in yesterday's video, how yes, it's so much easier to just, you know, rule things out and say God did it. It's a simpler concept. It doesn't really require any kind of understanding or learning. You're just like, he's clever, he's smart, he did it. And that's a little bit flawed because it means that you do miss out on understanding so many amazing things about the world and how it works. And you also miss out on being able to ask more questions and find out more things and learn more. So I think it's quite a narrow-minded view, and it's a good idea to kind of get out of just saying, well, God did it, or God will do it, or God will take care of it, or God has all the answers, and start trying to look for those answers yourself and try and understand things yourself, because that's the only way that humanity as a species can evolve and adapt and continue to grow. And I think it's a really amazing thing to kind of question everything and want to understand everything and not just say, sorry, it was God.
So the next section I'm going to talk about is prophecies, and no joke, this will slay you, like it will blow your mind. It's so cool. Where I'm going to be is in Daniel, and the chapters are going to be 2, 7, and 8. The main one I'm going to talk about is chapter 2, but I encourage you to read chapters 2, 7, and 8 of Daniel, okay? A little bit of background here. Daniel was a prophet in the Old Testament. He basically was around at the time of the Babylonian Empire, which started in 605 BC, and these events, which happened in chapter 2, happened in about 603 BC. Basically, Nebuchadnezzar had this dream, and he wanted someone to interpret it.
So at this point, she talks a lot about prophecies, and one particular one where apparently Daniel interpreted a dream that said there would be 4 kingdoms, and they apparently represented Babylon and so on to the Greek and Roman Empire. So this is quite a long bit of the video, and I didn't want to include too much of it, so I've just tried to kind of like put some highlights in. Basically, I can't really say I believe this. It just seems a little too vague. It seems a little too wishy-washy. And I don't actually know much about this bit of the Bible, so maybe you guys can help me out here. But do we know when that passage was actually written? How do we know it wasn't adapted afterwards? Do we know that this, you know, he actually made this prophecy at this time and that it did come true? Or, you know, maybe it was just he said kind of one vague thing and it was interpreted a certain way afterwards. I don't know. I don't know much about this, but the whole idea of prophecies, I find it really difficult to get behind, but that's just me.
All right, so the last point I'm going to talk about is my experience as a Christian. And I know that this might be the most unbelievable part of everything that I've said so far. The first one is that I have felt the peace of God and the presence of God in my heart and my soul, whatever you want to call it. And it's so crazy to like say that out loud, but like it's so beautiful and so unexplainable. And it's that feeling, you know, when you're having the worst night of your life and you've ugly cried for 3 hours and no one's home, you're home alone and you're in your room alone crying, and you feel comfort, you feel peace, you feel like someone is there with you you feel like you're not alone, and you feel this peace inside of you that is so incredible and incomprehensible and unexplainable. Like I said, that is what's called the Holy Spirit, and that's God living inside of me.
Okay, so this part of the video where she talks about her experience as a Christian and things like that is kind of sweet, it's kind of nice. And I'm actually really happy for her to kind of like feel this way and feel all nice and fulfilled and things. That's really nice to see. But at the same time, I kind of do wish that someone would sort of sit her down and say, hey, it's amazing to feel like this. It's amazing when you get a sense of fulfillment, that you feel happy, that you feel content. That's really, really good. But you don't only need God to get that feeling. I kind of wish that someone would tell her, like, hey, you can get this feeling from yourself. I mean, hell, the feeling that she was feeling was probably from herself. And she's just kind of giving that credit off to God and saying, well, God made me feel that way. When really, she's the awesome one. She's the one who knows how to make herself happy. And I think that's a really wonderful thing, and we should celebrate it. I don't know, this might just be like a me thing, but ultimately, I think if she's feeling good from it, I don't really have any issues. But I also kind of wish she'd give herself a little bit of credit, you know?
The second one is that God answers prayer. Like, I have seen God answer prayers in amazing ways. When my dad was super sick with a super bad bacterial infection, God healed him of that. Not a lot of people know this, but right during the time that my dad got sick, I was wrestling with prayer. Like, I did not think that God even could answer prayer. Like, why would God want us to pray to him if he knows what's going to happen? Like, he knows everything. Why would he want us to pray? He knows what's going to happen. Right during that time was when I was struggling with that. That's when my dad got sick. That's when I saw God answer that prayer. Like, do you think that was an accident? I don't.
In regards to this whole God answers prayers thing, I kind of struggle with it a little bit. On the one hand, I like that the idea of praying can give comfort to people, even if I personally don't think it actually does anything. I kind of think of it a little bit like a bit of a placebo effect, you know? But I really dislike when people pass the credit for human actions off to God. So I watched a video the other day that was talking about miracles that have happened, and one of the examples was a little boy who'd been in a boating accident with his family, and the rescue workers searched for literally over an hour for this boy, and when they found him, he was in a really, really bad state, and they got him out there, they got him to safety, and then the doctors worked so hard to make him better, and he ended up being absolutely fine, and it was amazing, it was wonderful. But when the mother was interviewed, she didn't thank the rescue workers, she didn't thank the doctors, she didn't give them any credit, she just said, it's God, God saved my son, thanks God. And that kind of upset me a little bit, because it sort of belittled everything that those amazing, wonderful, talented people did. And I find that a little bit sad. And I worry that this could kind of be the case here. Like, I don't want to comment because I don't know about her family situation. I'm very, very happy that her dad's okay now, and I'm sorry that she had to, like, struggle with him being ill. I really hope she gives as much credit to the amazing people who helped him, like doctors and nurses, and everyone in the healthcare profession, and just family and friends who were there to support him. And also, I hope she gives credit to herself for being there for him and supporting him and looking after him and everything like that. I hope she doesn't just say, it's all God, God made everything better. I really hope she thanks the people who did amazing things, and I hope she knows that she was a part of it as well. I really hope that. Generally, I just feel like if praying gives you comfort, you go for it, but don't forget about everyone else who's done good as well, you know what I mean? If something crappy is happening with me, or there's something big going on, or I don't know, and someone says, oh, I'll pray for you, that doesn't really mean anything to me, but it's kind of like a nice sentiment. It's like my thoughts are with you kind of thing, and I think that's sweet. But when people take things too far and they're like, I'm going to pray to be healed instead of going to a doctor, that's when things can get dangerous. And I don't think that's what this girl's talking about here. She seems to be very much, I think she uses prayer as like a kind of tool alongside everything else instead of a replacement. And I think if you want to pray and you are religious and that's how you feel good, then you go for it. Like, I have no issues with that.
No, it might sound crazy if you don't believe in him, but I can just ask you, I guess, and encourage you to just come. Just taste and see. That's what the Bible says, is come, taste and see that the Lord is good. Come taste and see what everyone is talking about. Come taste and see why I've completely given up my life to follow someone who lived so long ago.
So one line that really stands out to me here is her line about how I've given up my life to follow someone who lived so long ago. And this is one that kind of resonates with me a little bit, because on the one hand, if she's happy and she's feeling fulfilled with her life, then I think that's an amazing thing. But at the same time, I really hope she's not missing out on any amazing opportunities. I hope she's not saying no to too many things, and I hope she's not kind of changing who she is because of religion, or because she's scared of punishment, or because she thinks that's what God wants her to do. I hope she's still living a really kind of nice, fulfilled life and doing everything that she wants to. But anyway, I'm going to end this here. I really don't have anything bad to say about this girl. I disagree with some of her beliefs, and I think there are counter-arguments to some of her reasoning behind those beliefs. But ultimately, this girl seems really nice. I don't think she's using her religion for any kind of like bad or negative way. She doesn't seem like that kind of person. And she seems really lovely overall. She seems like a really, really sweet girl. So good on her. I like that. But let me know what you thought about this and some of the points I made down in the comments. It'd be really great to hear. If you want to do any extra reading about the things I mentioned to do with like endosymbiosis or whatever, then I will leave some links and further reading down in the description below. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon.